Okay, so a new One Punch Man chapter literally just dropped, and to be honest, I'm actually pretty surprised we got this chapter this early. I was actually expecting it to come next week, but it seems as if Murata has released it, I guess, pretty soon, and I feel like it's kind of understandable why Murata took an extra week because the art in this chapter was pretty insane. But apart from that, if you like One Punch Man, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel because I post quite a lot of One Punch Man on the channel. And, just from one glance at my channel, you can tell I'm a One Punch Man fanatic. So if you are as well, then, subscribe because, we're basically homies because you like One Punch Man, I like One Punch Man. You get the idea. But apart from that, let's just get into this chapter now. This chapter basically starts off with just Homeless Emperor just completely barraging, Iron, Spring Mustachio, Atomic Samurai, etc. with just his energy orbs. And we see that, obviously Homeless Emperor is pretty confident right now because he's kind of overwhelming them. But we see that, Atomic Samurai reaches for his Sunblade, and we see that there's kind of a flashback to when Nichiren is talking to Atomic Samurai, and basically Nichiren is saying that the Sunblade is a telepathic sword, meaning that it kind of has a life of its own, basically, meaning it's kind of basically the blade is alive. So yeah, and we see that the blade kind of answers to how strong the wielder is. Like, if the wielder's spirit isn't strong enough, or if the wielder himself isn't strong enough, then they can't unsheath the blade. And, we see that Atomic Samurai is actually able to unsheath the blade because the Sunblade actually is searching from within, Atomic Samurai's spirit. And we see that Atomic Samurai is actually able to unsheath it. And we see that, Atomic Samurai kind of, compares his, I guess, his technique to kind of Bang's, Water Stream Rock Smashing Fist. His technique is water, and we see that he kind of compares it to a reflective water surface, which is pretty interesting because, to be honest, I kind of like that dynamic between Bang and Atomic Samurai because we know they are basically rivals. So seeing Atomic Samurai have a similar, I guess, vision of how he uses his technique is pretty cool to see. But moving on, we see that Atomic Samurai actually unsheathes this blade, and he goes in and completely cuts Homeless Emperor's orb in two, and we see the orb completely just disperse in just an amazing way. And we see that Atomic Samurai, we see that there's actually a bit of a little detail that the Sunblade is actually merging with Atomic Samurai's hand, which is actually pretty cool. And we see that Atomic Samurai looks like he's in a completely different mode. Like, he looks like he's not even in control of his own body. And we get some more information about that later. But we see that Homeless Emperor is completely shocked that Atomic Samurai could do this. And Homeless Emperor just starts attacking recklessly. But of course, Atomic Samurai in this Sunblade mode is just unstoppable. And we see that Atomic Samurai comes in and is about to finish off Homeless Emperor. But we see that, Golden Sperm comes in and completely blocks it, and we see the impact of Atomic Samurai's blade just hits Golden Sperm, and it causes the ground to literally break apart. And we see that as Golden Sperm is trying to take off, break Atomic Samurai's blade, we see that the blade actually cuts Golden Sperm's hand off, and we see that the blade kind of shape, it kind of changed the form of it. It turns into kind of like a snake, kind of like a beam that just completely severs off his hand. And we see that Golden Sperm is in complete shock. And I guess this kind of confirms that Atomic Samurai in his Sunblade mode is like an above dragon, which is pretty crazy to say. I would never have thought that Atomic Samurai would reach above dragon. And I would actually say, Atomic Samurai in Sunblade mode is like a low above dragon, because if he's able to do this to, Golden Sperm with this much ease, then, I'm pretty sure it's safe to say, we've kind of received above dragon Atomic at this point. But moving on, we see that the blade kind of goes back into its sheath and it's kind of moving around, which is pretty weird. And I mean, it kind of confirms that the Sunblade does have kind of a mind of its own. And we see that this Sunblade mode actually takes a lot out of Atomic Samurai. And we see that, Golden Sperm is completely shocked, and it's like he's really annoyed that Atomic Samurai was able to do this. And he basically says that he's going to kill all of them one by one. And I mean, Atomic Samurai right now is completely out of breath. And, EI and Spring Mustachio can't really do anything. So, it looks like Golden Sperm is going to kill them all. But next we see that, there's a sound and we all see King. And we see that King is just standing on top of the mountain. And we see that King is just looking down on all the Black S's and Golden Sperm and Homeless Emperor and everyone else. And we see that, Genos is thinking that he's finally going to see King fight again. But we see that, the Golden Sperms are talking about King, and they're talking about how he was able to defeat Elder Centipede in one punch. But we all know that, it was actually Saitama. But moving on, we see that, there's actually a bit of paneling for Metal Bat. And we see that Metal Bat is kind of basically just reassuring himself that King is going to completely destroy all of these Black S's. And basically just says he can just sit back and just kind of, give King some backup to try and prevent any more Black S's from swarming in. But we see that King is just standing on top of the mountain, looking menacing as ever. And we see that, the Black S's are basically challenging King. But Golden S is kind of telling them to kind of lay back because King is actually pretty strong. Well, they think he's pretty strong and they think that going straight ahead against King is going to be reckless. But we see that, they're basically, this is a pretty funny scene because we all know that King really can't do anything. And we see that King is completely panicking in his head. And we see that King is just having a whole inner dilemma on what to do. And obviously he's saying that Black S can't really be intimidated from name alone. So King he's in a pretty tough spot, but I'm pretty sure we all know that King could easily destroy all of these guys in one punch if he really wanted to. But he's a bit too broken for the series, so he has to pretend like he's not strong. But of course, moving on, we see that Puri Prisoner and Child Emperor comes to the surface, but we see that Puri Prisoner and Child Emperor aren't really here to help. Child Emperor and Puri Prisoner are, they're pretty happy to see King, which puts even more pressure on King. And that's pretty much where the chapter ends. And this chapter I feel like was a really good chapter. I would say this chapter was a really like a solid 9 out of 10. I mean, this chapter was a good balance between comedy, action, new reveals, new forms, new character scalings, all of that stuff. And I'm pretty happy we got this chapter. But if I was to kind of give, I guess, the spotlight of this chapter, I would say it was definitely Atomic Samurai. I mean, seeing Atomic Samurai doing this is just crazy. And I think I'm going to make a completely separate video for Atomic Samurai. So you should definitely look forward to that. And I mean, it's pretty much confirmed that Atomic Samurai is like a low above Dragon at this point. Because he was able to, cut Golden Sperm's hand off with so much ease in his Sunblade form. But anyway, apart from that, that's pretty much it. If you liked the video, make sure you leave a like. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. And apart from that, I'll see you in my next